Hello everyone and welcome to our double game week 25 bumper preview show. I'm Chris, Kieran's here too. Hey Geek, how you doing?
I am well, thank you. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I'm alright. I'm muddled with game week 25 combinations, so it'd be good to have a chat about it. I feel like the Man City game last night in the Champions League has made me question my Man City picks, and then the news of Salah being pitched in training earlier in the day has made me muddled. Yeah, that's a good word for it. A good word for it.
I mean, we all knew he was probably going to be around now, so
Yeah,
for Salah. So I guess, I don't know if anything has changed in that regard. But
no,
yeah.
true. But I feel like just the actual seeing him, you're just like, okay, it's real now. So yeah. Right. Let's just hang back a little bit and talk about game week 24 very briefly. We both had exactly the same points.
Oh,
With a different team. By
nice.
how many players have we got different? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 players different, I think, and we got 4 players of the 11. We got 70. Both got 76. Surely.
We both conceded to bench a Arsenal defender, didn't we?
Oh man, what were we thinking?
Yeah,
It,
don't know.
it, it could have been a lot worse, to be fair. Like if the fact that Gusto got a return and a bonus point
Yes.
did make a big difference in the. I looked at it because I was only ever going to bench Saliba for Gusto. Like I kind of fancied Bale against Sheffield United. That made sense. Porro's got the upside at home against Wolves. Then you look at Saliba for me, and West Ham had not. West Ham had done well against Arsenal.
Yep.
In the away game, it made in the cup, and it made sense. And then obviously he gets his first goal in 10 or 12 game weeks. Arsenal keep a clean sheet. Luckily he didn't get any bonus points, but yeah, that 6 point missed out on about 25k places for me, so probably similar for you.
Yeah.
Still a green arrow though.
Yeah. Gusto and Palmer, Palmer with his like he was at 90 minutes on a blank and then got 2 returns at the end. So yeah, those two absolutely saved it because it was going to be a really horrible red. If not for those two doing something, I would have preferred Gusto not showing up at all or whatever. But it is what it is. 76 points. De Bruyne outscoring Foden and Alvarez from the bench. Maybe a thing to be considered for this week, of course. Darwin, thankful. I thought he was going to blank because I did the match the challenge and it was getting close towards the end and Darwin had done nothing. Jota had scored early. I was thinking, bloody hell, here we go. But thankfully he did all right in the end. So yeah,
and he picked up a bonus point considering he got a yellow. I just don't know how he did that.
He must be close to being banned by now.
I know he seems.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried about that because it seems to be every game he gets something.
I know. Right, well, let's. Well, I should say before we move on, we both got green arrows, didn't we? The last game week, so just about. So it was that Chelsea sort of duo at the end that saved us both. But yeah, it was a bit of a mixed game week. Like I say, Jota's continuing to do really well for me. Richarlison had his first blank since I got him, and then my, the unsung hero was Bell, who, how on earth I've had him like since my wildcard in game week 4 or 6, whatever. Barely played him. Played him twice recently. Got me a clean sheet one time, and then he got 2 bonus points. Because he did
Amazing.
3
good
goals.
For him.
Yeah, good for him.
I mean, Doughty's numbers were pretty insane. I don't know how he didn't get a bonus.
I know. All those chances created, but yeah, this week. This was the week you wanted to do well.
Unfortunately, I think Charlie Taylor's been in training now, so that could be something useful going forward for 26 and 29 too.
Oh, that's quite good. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's jump on. Let's just do a bit of a chit chat about the game week upcoming, because there's double game weeks for 4 teams: Brentford, Liverpool, Luton, and Man City. Should we kick off talking about Liverpool just because Salah's fresh in my mind and it's just good to get your thoughts on it, really. So
go for it.
Yeah. So I think of all the teams doubling this game week, they're probably the least attractive long term just because they blank in 26 and blank in 29. But, the fixtures are there for a decent double game week.
The fixtures like after 26 as well are rough too. Yeah. There's Forest away, okay, great, but then they got City as well after that. Then they blank in 29 again. So it's like, I think a lot of people. Sorry to just bludge in here. I think a lot of people are thinking of just like laying in the bed of not having Salah until game week 30. I think I might be on that lines just because I've got KDB.
Yeah,
because I can't afford him.
He's definitely interesting because he's so low ownership at the moment. Like he has, it seems like Salah wasn't like a default pick. Let's say at the start of the season, his ownership's dropped down to 18. So I'm guessing pretty much all active players will have got rid of him. It'd be interesting to see how much that rises, how much faith people have in him. But yeah, I think like investing them from now. We talked about this a bit last week. Seems difficult because of their blank, and you basically be getting them in or out. But it might be different for people who might be free hitting this week, or people who are maybe playing a wild card this week and are prepared to like stack their bench so they can rotate them out over the coming weeks. So yeah, it's probably worth looking at it from that point. But just go over some Liverpool numbers quite quickly. So XG over the last 4, 7.2. They're 5th, which is roughly where they've been all season, perhaps sometimes even a little bit higher when Salah's been in. XGC over the last 4, so expected goals conceded, they're actually way down in 11th, bottom half of the table, which, those numbers combined with Luton, as I'll talk about in a minute, make me think that the fact that Trent isn't there, I don't think the defence is worth investing in, especially if you're going to be getting rid with those difficult games to come in between 26 and the 29 blank as well. So
yeah, I think I agree. Yeah,
I've gone off the defence quite a lot, to be honest. So just on their opponents as well. Luton XG, they actually got better expected goals than Liverpool in the last 4 games with 7.9. Their expected goals conceded is there, so the defence is actually better than Liverpool's as well in the last 4. Whereas Brentford are the whipping boys in terms of numbers. So Brentford's XG is down there. They're just below Liverpool in 12th, and their expected goals conceded is down in 13th. So looking at the two, funnily enough, even though Brentford's the away game and Luton's the home game, it looks like Luton on numbers alone are going to give them a harder game, which I kind of agree with based on how good Luton have been against the top sides recently. So yeah, let's just talk quickly about Salah. So I'm guessing he probably gets, if Klopp says he's available, I don't think they'd risk him for 90 minutes across 2 games. So I was kind of thinking 90 to 120 minutes across the 2, similar to KDB. Is that sort of like how you'd read that as well, or how you imagine that?
I would assume KDB gets more than 90 to 120.
Do you think? Okay.
I would hope he gets like 150 at least for me. But anyway, yeah, he's only had that, as far as I know, this one session today. He only took part in like the kind of like passing things. He didn't do any of the contact stuff. Didn't do any of the like running attack versus defense things. So to me, that sounds like, I don't know, is he going to be doing all of that within the next week to be able to start the next game, or to even be on the bench for 20 minutes at the end? I don't know. That seems possibly a bit suspect to me. And then assuming he doesn't play the first game, then does he come in and play 90 the next game? Probably not either. So yeah.
Do you think I've over-egged his minutes then? Do you think 90 seems quite high across the 2?
Possibly. I'm just probably on the more pessimistic side of just what we kind of saw with Haaland. Yeah. He'd been back training for a little while. Obviously, hamstrings are different to like foot, stress, bone stuff. But I would say that you should be more sort of risk averse with hamstrings compared to this. So yeah, I think I said the other week that this hasn't really happened to Salah before. Yeah. Hopefully they're going to try and take it slowly so it doesn't keep happening, because hamstrings do seem to happen a lot. So, or do happen a lot, like over and over after it's happened like once. So yeah, for me, I'm probably going to wait. I feel like 90 to 120 probably is optimistic, but I don't know. Salah is a machine. It doesn't usually happen to him. He's usually back and just ready to go. So I don't know. It's tough.
It is tough. I feel like, Klopp's going to give us something at least, because, he's such a key player for them. But yeah, I don't know if back in those X minutes are good, especially at that price. I feel like, the support players in around their Darwin and Yossa are much more likely to get higher minutes. And so, you'd expect their returns to be consistent with what they've been getting recently, and there's no risk, I suppose, of any injury reoccurrence of them. Which
so you're not looking at bringing him back in, then? You don't think?
I think I'm very much on the fence at the moment based on what Klopp's saying. Like I've got the money for him, and a low ownership differential Salah in a double game week sounds great, but you're taking a chance that he has been brought back too soon, and he is. he isn't quite fully match fit. And
we've
two,
seen that with Trent recently as well.
Yeah.
He's been in and out with them. They're bringing him back possibly too early, and he's gone out again. So
yeah, exactly. So the same thing could happen here. But I'll see what the comments are. At the moment, I'm leaning towards, even if they say he's fit, I'm expecting him to not get very many minutes, and there's probably better options. And the fact that he'd almost be an in and out again. He's a lot of money to move your team around for just for 2 games where we might not play 90 minutes back to back.
For me, he doesn't have Jota. Do you think it affects Jota's minutes? Because Jota would be the one that sort of probably makes way, you'd think, or maybe Darwin as well. I guess they're all at risk from Salah.
Exactly what my next point was going to be. I think the fact that he's back a little bit does degrade Louis, Darwin, Jota, Gakpo maybe as well, and Luis on the left there. So yeah, he definitely makes each of them a worse pick. But I don't think he's gonna start or play a full game. So you'd expect them to share those minutes. And Darwin and Jota, I've highlighted them because I think they've performed, I suppose, the most consistently since Salah's been away, and there's nothing to suggest that won't continue. Especially in that game against Brentford, who have got poor numbers. And you'd back Liverpool at home against Luton to definitely win and score, and they would be involved in that. So yeah, I do think Salah just reappearing has made it more difficult because there's extra questions. But I'm not quite sure on the answer yet. It's difficult. But just on Darwin and Jota, are you looking at doubling up with Jota as well, heading into this one?
Yeah, I have the Palmer spot that could just go straight to Jota, but it does mean possibly selling them again the next week straight away.
Yeah.
But then I kind of like Palmer, but then Palmer's fixtures until 29 are not that great either. Brentford away, Newcastle at home, Arsenal away in 29. I'm not even sure if they blank in 29 or not. So you could go without Chelsea for the foreseeable. So yeah, I'm really not sure about Jota yet. I think I like the Bradley punt, assuming he's going to play, but then we've talked about the defense a little bit that I'm not too keen on. Just like Brentford against Liverpool has just been full of goals historically. Luton have been all right at the moment, so I don't know if there's any clean sheets there. And yeah, Jota, I don't know. It's selling Palmer. Like, Palmer scored against City in the game this season already. This is obviously his old club. I feel like Palmer could do something here, really. So
interesting.
Okay. But is that Jota versus Brentford and Luton is obviously better.
Yeah.
So,
but then it'd be about getting rid of him next game. I know I think it's really tricky, and I think the closer we've got now to making a decision, because of the you're effectively just having that blank in the game week after, it just makes it so much more difficult. I was nearly there with Bradley last weekend if I knew he was going to be starting, and we learnt he hadn't trained.
Yep.
And I think if you had 3 of those games in a row, he'd be an easier option to bring in. But now for me, with Bradley and the rest of Liverpool defence, the fact that they couldn't keep a clean sheet against Burnley, and they looked pretty suspect in that game from the highlights. Like, Van Dijk was making mistakes. They could have conceded more chances. I don't really fancy, and Robertson's back from injury. He could get rotated. Van Dijk, I think he's quite expensive, and don't back the clean sheets and don't back his goal threat. Trent's obviously out. Bradley is a minimal risk from a monetary point of view, so that maybe that makes a bit of a difference. But I just don't fancy the clean sheet in either game enough to back them, really.
Yeah, I think one transfer probably will go to Jota. It's just taking it back out is just super annoying, because I will have too many players that blank that I would have bought in. So
yeah,
it's just long-term thinking, I suppose. Like, I've been rolling 1 free transfer every week for ages. I've got 2 free transfers, and maybe it's probably still best to roll 1 so I can take 2 out next week. Yeah, it's
really, really tricky. Well, I'm surprised still that, just in terms of players we could bring in for Liverpool this week, that Darwin is still owned by fewer people than Jota. That surprised me. I feel like Darwin's such a big name, and I don't know, maybe people have just gone to Jota because he's been so consistent, but the underlying numbers of Darwin is like should be exploding. Like in his last five starts, he's returned in 4 of them with 6, 11, 5, and 8. He's like breaking records for his underperformance in the last 4 game weeks. He's got 6 big chances, which is the joint most, and 14 shots in the box, which is the most. And he's the 3rd highest of expected points of all players in the game at the moment, but he's not in the top 30 in terms of actual point scorers. So it's just like a massive drop off. I think he's an interesting player, or an interesting pick for me this game week as well, because I'm sat on a front three of Haaland, Alvarez, and Watkins, and I'm sure like there's others who have been watching who will be the same. I'm thinking that I'm gonna roll the dice and maybe get rid of Watkins for Darwin, but it's just that fear that I know he could do nothing and just continue to underperform, whereas Watkins we've seen has got like a big game in him.
Yeah, I think I've owned him since like, I don't know, for a while now, and I'm just used to the numbness of him either doing nothing or exploding. I think, there barely seems to be any in between. But they're scoring so many goals at the moment. He sometimes just pops up with an assist, and you're kind of just like, oh well, he's got a return. I probably have to keep him now.
Yeah.
Like, exactly. So, I'm a little sick of him. But like he stays for now. He'll probably be one that for sure gets booted out in 26, because it will just be a good time to get rid of him when he's got that blank, plus the blank in 29, plus City as well. Like, that seems like a good time to move on. And then there's Tony, who's obviously looking all right at the moment.
Absolutely.
But their fixtures are a bit worse. But then there is other strikers that are looking okay. So there's places to go at least.
Do we want to talk about? Well, should we move on and talk about City? Because I feel like with Liverpool, I think it's harder to justify some of their picks, especially like we say because of that blank afterwards. And those are the ones I sort of like highlight as my top picks.
Yeah. So I've got some random stats discarded about Liverpool and then Brentford as well, and then City as well. So just for 25 stats. So I'll just roll these off quickly as well. Okay. So Brentford versus Liverpool, like the last 5 games, Liverpool versus Liverpool, Tony's failed to score in the Premier League. An aggregate score of 11-6 in favour of Liverpool. Liverpool beat Brentford 3-0 at Anfield in November. Salah got 2 goals, Jota got 1 goal.
God on Jota, boy.
Yeah. Only one game of the last 5 has had less than 3 goals in it.
That's quite interesting.
So, and that was a 1-0 to Liverpool in May last season. So the rest of them have all had 3 or more goals, which is good. A good sign for lots of goals for attackers and things. So that's good for Tony. That's good for Jota. That's good for Darwin. It's like the defense, like, you don't want to be looking at either defense really there. So Brentford versus City stats in the Premier League. Brentford have won 2 of the last 5 versus City, and then they did do the double over Man City last season in the Premier League. But they obviously lost to City a couple of weeks ago, 3-1. And then City versus Chelsea, there was a 4-4 in November. Haaland got 2 goals, Rodri got a goal, Akanji got a goal. And then there was Thiago, Sterling, Jackson, and Palmer penalty. So in the Premier League, the last 5 between City and Chelsea, there's been 4 wins to City, 1 draw, which was that 4-4. And the 4-4 was the first time Chelsea scored versus City in the last 5 games. So that was a bit of an anomaly, I suppose, but maybe that's just the improvement Palmer's bringing to the team. It obviously is a bit of a different team, isn't it, with the Pochettino and all that stuff. So anyway, interesting stats, I suppose. That it means there's possibly not really any clean sheets for many teams in this double at all, even though they look quite good on paper. Man City, game week 19 to 24, the XG has been 13.3, which is 3rd overall for teams. XGC of 5.3, which is 2nd. So they're performing pretty well at the moment. They did well in the Champions League last night as well. Plenty goals, so nice for us that are backing attack for sure.
Absolutely.
So obviously the man of the moment KDB, he's 31% owned, 10.8 million. He's obviously expensive. He's ruling out Salah for me at the moment, unfortunately, but he's in there for double home games. I think Pep might want to play him in double home games, but I don't know. We'll see. 8 goal involvements in 5 games since his return. versus Copenhagen in Champions League. He got 1 goal, 2 assists, and played 90 minutes. To me, I did watch most of it. He looked fit. He doesn't look tired anymore. This is pretty much, to me, Kevin De Bruyne propaganda that I'm trying to get out there. I'm just putting into the ether that he looks fit, and Pep's not going to screw me over. So X on minutes is obviously the concern. However, he did play obviously 33 minutes versus Everton and outscored Foden Alvarez in that time. So benching is not the end of the world if it happens, but he's obviously expensive. You don't want to see that happen. But like since game week 21 to 24, since his return, no midfielder has better goal involvement than Kev, and only Jota has actually managed him in this time, which is 5 goal involvements. But that's 215 minutes for Kevin versus 337 for Jota. So just in all those minutes, he's getting all those returns, and just like he doesn't look like he's slowing down in time with returns. So yeah, KDB looking good right now. What is your opinion on him? Obviously, you're thinking about him.
Definitely. And it's funny, really, because I don't know why. Like, I've got the money to get, I could get to KDB or Foden. And in my head, all of this week until pretty much last night, I was like, I'll just get Foden because he'd been playing well. And then obviously, recency bias. But you actually see Kevin or De Bruyne doing so well last season. You appreciate what an important player he is for City. And then you look at the returns he's actually had since he's come back. You sort of get rid of this idea that he's not fit and being rested. He's like being the key man in big games for them. Like even at the Newcastle game, which you didn't mention just then, he was only on the pitch for 20 minutes in that game and came away with a 12-point haul. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's probably like fitter, a bit like Tony. He's probably like fitter than a lot of players in the league this season because he hasn't been playing that as many minutes, and he's like building up his match fitness. So Pep's probably obviously managing him anyway because it's squad rotation. That's what he does. But yeah, KDB is like probably after Salah and maybe Haaland, like the third best or one of the top 3 players in the league. So not having him, especially when he's at like 31% ownership, seems dangerous. And City are chasing down this title. I think if you're comparing him directly to Salah as well, you're thinking that De Bruyne's definitely playing some part in both of these games. He's not coming back from injury. He's already fit, and he's he's definitely going to play some part in 26. So yeah, when I sort of look at it like that, it makes me think. I don't know why I was interested in Foden, and I would absolutely take a KDB benching and like a 20-minute cameo and a start across these 2 games, and because I think both at home, knowing how much City dominate the ball, he's going to do well.
It's not like they're like easy games either.
No,
it's not like a Luton. It's not like a Forest or a Burnley. Like these are fixtures they need to be winning because they are still behind in the race for the title. So they can't be taken lightly. That's for sure.
That's true.
And yeah, they just beat Copenhagen. They could probably rotate like 3-1 versus Copenhagen in the first round. Then it's home for the next one, so they can probably rotate in that Champions League second leg as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see De Bruyne start both. Like I wasn't expecting him to play 90 minutes yesterday, and he did. So there was no need. Like, they were 2-1 up, but he didn't need to play 90 minutes. Like for me, he is fit and just fine, just good to go now. So.
No, I know. I don't know why I wasn't considering more strong before, but yeah, last night I sort of opened my eyes and think it makes sense to have the better player. And
and obviously
Foden's been doing well. Sorry.
So Foden's obviously been doing it really well as well. I'm not really going to talk about him here. Like he's great. If you can afford him, go for him. Like between Foden and De Bruyne, I've got here Foden versus Alvarez versus KDB for the third City slot, which I suppose you're considering. So XGI over the last 4 weeks. So Everton at home, Foden got 0.26, Alvarez got 0.27, KDB got 0.24 from the bench. So yeah, that's pretty good for KDB's. Brentford away, 0.87 for Foden. That was obviously his hat trick. And then Alvarez got 0.35 and KDB got 0.57. Burnley home, 0.21 for Foden, 0.94 for Alvarez. That's where he got his brace. And then a 0.29 for KDB. And then Newcastle away, finally, 0.65 for Foden, 0.79 for Alvarez, and 0.46 versus KDB. So basically, they all sort of seem to take it in turns of having a good game. And then yeah, they're all pretty much like, if you average them out, which I haven't done because I can't be bothered, that would probably be pretty similar for all three of them. So I feel like whoever you have already or looking to bring in, just pick whichever one you want. Really, they'll probably, all three of them will probably get similar minutes across the whole week, the double game week. I expect most of them will probably get similar points returns too. So I really don't think there is a massive difference between KDB, Foden, and Alvarez in terms of who you pick for this week. They're gonna have similar minutes, in my opinion.
The only thing which like stands out to me, just that owning Alvarez, looking at those numbers, is a clear drop off between Burnley and Newcastle when he was playing centre forward, and then Brentford and Everton where he wasn't and Haaland was back. So
yes,
I imagine, well, we're guessing that Alvarez wasn't injured last night, and he probably plays this weekend.
I don't think he came on at all as far as I
didn't,
saw. So
it's weird, and he's played every minute, or not every minute. He's played every game so far this season. But if he plays behind Haaland, he's definitely not as effective as those numbers show. So yeah, it's definitely, you're right. I kind of think it's almost like much of a muchness between them numbers wise, but perhaps when it comes down to it, it's going to be the minutes that decide it, I suppose. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and like I said, I think minutes could be pretty similar, to be honest. So, although Alvarez, like, he has been, like, last night was the first time they've all been fit, and he was the one that got benched. So
true.
Maybe that's just because of UCL. I don't know, but yeah, I guess we'll see. So just possibly for a third slot as well, just like Ake, he's gone completely under the radar. 5 million, 7.3% owned. I did big up Vardiol like a couple of weeks ago, but then he got injured and hasn't been featured since, so that was bad timing. But he is apparently their only sort of legit left back that's starting, that's available at the moment. So, and he's actually played 8 times 90 minutes in a row.
Wow. Okay.
And I had no idea that was happening. Like, like we've been looking at Walker for pretty much all the minutes, and Vardiol was who I was starting to big up, and because he was passing the eye test. But Ake, eight times 90 minutes in a row, and I just did not see that happening. So for me, if he's the only fit left back, 2 games in succession, he was playing some minutes in centre back as well. Like, I feel like he plays both 90 minutes here. And he played in Champions League versus Copenhagen, so clearly he's favoured right now. But obviously in the Champions League last night, we saw Ederson giving away another sloppy goal. They've done this pretty much most of the season. So they've had sloppy 1 goals conceded in games they've smashed versus Brentford, Burnley, Everton, Palace, Luton, Bournemouth, Wolves, West Ham, Sheffield United. So all these bad teams that they've been beaten easily, they've just conceded 1 goal for just no bloody reason. So yeah, for me, I think triple attack is probably the way to go if you want, or you haven't already got like a Walker. Most people who have defensive have got onto Walker. Ake does have decent set piece threat as well. I think he was close to scoring yesterday as well. So
yeah, he was.
I don't mind Ake as a punt as well if you're looking for a third city defender and obviously a cheaper way into that third slot. Ake's probably fine because he'll probably play 26 as well and onwards. And then finally, we always know about Haaland. Triple captainship, are you considering it for yourself? I think I probably will play it, but I think there's a consideration to put on to KDB. But no, I think it will be Haaland. Like, Haaland did blank last night. Foden, KDB got all the returns. That's something to consider, I suppose. But so on Twitter, like I think it was FPL Olympian said 6 total appearances versus Brentford and Chelsea, and he's failed to score in 5 of them for Haaland. But I responded saying, like, I feel like historical matchups and data doesn't really reflect onto a match that's going to happen in the future, which is completely unrelated. But it is a kind of interesting of the tactical matchup in sort of physical centre backs against who are going to sit back and just going to mark Haaland out of the game. And we have seen that a few times this season. So that is something to consider. But, you would say the same of Everton last week with 6'7" Branthwaite trying to mark him constantly, and he obviously scored twice. So yeah, he's had 3 times 90 minutes in a row since returning as well. 90 minutes, I think, last night too. So yeah, for me, he's obviously fit. He'll get all the minutes when he is fit. He plays and starts every game. Triple captain, later in the season is a lot more tricky because we saw Haaland sort of the big double game week in 37 that's meant to happen, and 34. Like we did start to see Haaland rotated quite a bit at the end of last season because they were playing for the Champions League and stuff like that. So I think triple captain on Haaland is probably safest now in a double with 2 good fixtures at home.
I agree. And, yeah, I feel like it's a classic case of overthinking as well. Like you think all season you're going to play your triple captain on a good double game week when it gets announced, and now we've got like one with the highest scoring player from last season, and probably would have been the highest scoring player this season had he not been injured. He's got back-to-back home games, he's fit, and he's playing in his last Premier League game he just scored a brace,
and City are smashing it.
City are smashing it. Like, what's not to love about it? Like, I just feel like it's almost like overthinking it that he's returned in the 2 starts he's had since he's come back. So I think it would be a case of overthinking it if you didn't triple captain him this week, really. So, no, I'd be there.
I think some people have teams that could be set up for bench boost, and I don't really mind that either. It's like some people have got Estepinian against Sheffield United, who they're looking to possibly either play or bench boost, and I think that's obviously a good chance to do that. Bench boost is a little bit overrated as well, so that, like with triple captain, it can get a bit more muddy towards the end of the season. So, yeah. No,
I agree. All right, well, I just mentioned Luton a little bit then before we talk about Brentford. So a bit like Liverpool, a bit unlike Liverpool, they blank in 26, but they play in 29, and they obviously had that extra double in game week 28. So, they're quite investable, but it just so happens that this double game week for them does, on paper, suck. Man United at home, Liverpool away. Now, I don't know about you, but my gut feeling is they played a bit differently against Sheffield United and got battered. They were like a bit more open because they thought it was a game they were going to win, and conceded 3 goals, which really hasn't been how they've been playing at home against the biggest sides. They've generally kept it like really tight. So I kind of think they're going to go back to playing tight against Man United and Liverpool and try and, hit them how they've been hitting other teams. So I think that was almost like a one-off, but for the right reasons, and they're still like a good team to invest in. Anyway, like I mentioned earlier, that their XG over the last 4 games is actually 3rd best of all teams, which is better than Liverpool, and their expected goals conceded is actually the 6th best. So the numbers are great, which is why the Sheffield United game is such an anomaly, because you wanted like the confidence that they were good to back, and it's typical. Like we'll talk about in a minute.
Wanted big points from Doughty that game.
I know, like I was
expecting.
Just disappointing. So, and anyway, in terms of their opponents, United's like underlying numbers. Even though that United had that great win against Villa, they got battered. Man United's expected goals over the last 4 is 6.1, which is the 11th, actually worse than Sheffield United. Their expected goals conceded is actually the 15th worst in the league, which is worse than Sheffield United. So I do think Luton have got a good chance to beat Man United this weekend. And then it's just what happens in that second game away at Liverpool. So I appreciate it's a difficult double, but it's a double with future doubles coming and a game in game week 29, and some of their assets have been doing quite well. So I'll just mention Doherty because you got him last week, and I do think he's a decent buy, to be honest. He's still at a big differential at like about 8%. He had 12 key passes in the last 4 game weeks, which was highest of all defenders. His baseline bonus because of that gets really high. So if he does get a return, he's basically ranking quite highly, or chance to get bonus in any of those games. 3 shots in the box he's had in the last 4 game weeks isn't bad for a Luton side either. So I think based on what his price point is, I think he's up to like 4.8 now. He might even be 4.9.
Yeah.
So I think for that price, knowing that you've basically got an extra 2 games in the next sort of 6 game week span, he's worth investing in, because I think he's just got the highest upside of all the Luton defenders. I mean, I think he's got like 75 or 73 points for the season, which is more than double the next Luton defender. He's got 8 attacking returns this season. I mean, they're great numbers. So yeah, I think he's a sound pick, really.
What do you expect, like expected points wise, for him this week? Man United home, Liverpool.
Yeah, I think this is like a bad game week for Luton defenders. I mean, I'm playing Bell because it's a double, and anything can happen. But to be honest, for both of them, I'm not expecting more than like 1 to 4 points.
Yeah, four would be a win. I feel like
would be a win.
2 from each games would be okay. Any sort of return from Doughty? I think Yeah, I think it could be either game. Like, I think he could get an assist. Like,
I do. I think they'll score in probably in both games, so there's a chance. Like, I think he's like saying he's more likely to return than Bell is, my defender. But I'm not wasting a transfer upgrading them. I've just got to hope that Liverpool or Man United basically don't score more than 2 goals in each game. That's my hope.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I do think he's a good pick. He's actually only 4.6. I just had another look. Nice. I mean, they could park the bus. I mentioned Barkley last week. He's probably just worth mentioning again for anyone who's thinking about maybe moving on from Palmer. He's doubled his ownership since the show last week, so people have obviously got him. He's got 3 returns in his last 4. 23 points in his last 4 is actually more than Darwin's got, which made me laugh because Darwin's numbers have been so good and Barkley's just not doing it. 16,
that's more about Darwin than Barkley.
I think maybe it is. Yeah. 16 key passes, second most of all players in the league, and 3 big chances, the third highest created after De Bruyne and Odegaard. So, he's important. He's important to Luton as sort of like Odegaard and De Bruyne are to Man City. He's going to be given license to go forward. They've obviously got to try and win the games to stay up. I think for 5 million, if you're looking to swap out Palmer, he seems like just why not? Like he's been fairly consistent in a team who are just fighting for survival, and you're getting those extra games. He's benchable. I don't really think there's not.
Did they play 26 or they blank? Right?
They blanked 26, but they played 29.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's how it goes. And then they got the double in 28 against Bournemouth and Palace, I think. So yeah, I think that again he's a solid investment. And then finally, just on the 2 strikers there, who I think I had Morris for the double game week earlier in the season, and he returned good points in that double game week. I think he got maybe 10 points across the 2 games, and he actually if I'd captained him, I think he would have outscored Haaland in that game week. So again, maybe not the right game week, but for long term, Morris is 5, Adebayo is 4.9, and both of them feature in the top 10 point scorers in the last 4 game weeks. Massively overlooked, 3 and 4% ownership. Adebayo is 10 shots in the box, which betters Morris, but otherwise Morris is better across pretty much all the metrics. Key passes.
Was Morris was like dropped during the season, right? What happened there? Was he injured or? I
don't know why he wasn't in the team, but if you look at the start, so basically maybe they had a change in philosophy, but about game week 15, I think it was, Morris basically got benched in a home game against Arsenal. Adebayo played. Adebayo has basically started every game since game week 15, so that's 9 in a row, whereas Morris has only started the last 3 and come off the bench in every other game. So I think they basically had a change in tact, and Adebayo was basically delivering for them, and he scored quite a lot of goals in that time. I think he scored 5 goals in those 9 games. So I
mean, it's bigger opponents. So if they did that against Arsenal, maybe Morris is a risk for this double. This possibly Adebayo might be the one to look at.
Yeah, no, I would probably go with you on that, to be honest. So,
but Morris is on pens, so
I know that's the swing. But it's just if you think they're going to get any pens, and then also is he going to even be on the pitch to take him?
Barkley could be on them if he's not on the pitch.
Could be on the pens.
Yeah.
No, so I like Luton, but I'm not upgrading Bell this game week, and I don't think I'm going to prioritise them. But for between game weeks 26 and 28, I'll probably have at least 2 for that double.
Yeah, I've got Nakamba sitting there on the bench still. I could probably put him up to Barkley and just keep Palmer instead of Jota. Maybe there's something to think about. Maybe. Yeah. Barkley, I think is perfectly fine. Yeah, he's around. What's Louise now? He's around that sort of price, right?
Louise, I think he's 5.5. Douglas Louise.
Yeah.
So 5.5 still for Douglas Louise. Crazy.
Okay, so Brentford. Shall I talk about quickly? So game week 19 to 24, their XG has been 9.5, which is 11th for all teams, and their XGC is 10.4, which is 12th of all teams. So Tony, he's probably the one that most people are looking at. 4 goal involvements in 4 games since he's come back, 8, 10, 2 and 6. Amazingly, no bonus in his 1 goal versus Wolves, so I'm not sure what happened there. He must have done absolutely nothing else the whole game. But 1 in 2 goals per match he's played in the Premier League, I think I heard. So that's pretty good. I think he's had something like 70 games and 35 goals or something. So good for him. Game 21 to 24, he's top for big chances of all forwards, which is on 6. But His XG has only been 1.9. His key passes have been 2, and big chances created 1, and then shots of 10. And like the top leaders for shots was like up there in the 20s or something. So, yeah, his shots and assist potential is pretty low at the moment. But that does tell us that when he's obviously getting these big chances, which is 6 where he's top, they're often like good ones for him to score, and he has been sort of putting them away. So, yeah, that's good. Tony versus obviously City on the 20th of February. Yeah, obviously 2 weeks ago, I think it was. So he got a 0.4 XGI in that game, 2 points, 2 shots, 0.3 XG, 0 K passes, 0 big chances created, and only 1 big chance. So that wasn't great. But he's got expected points of 11, which is 4th for all the players, and get double game at 2025. So that's probably 1 return with a couple bonus and then a blank in the other. So that's that you wouldn't be too bad with that. Over the double. Yeah, Mopai, like his numbers are pretty bad, but
yeah, he's been doing well though.
But he is cheap, 4.9 million, 1.3% owned. From game week 19 to 24, he's had 5, 1, 6, 6, 6, and 2. So arguably better form than Tony at the moment, which is surprising. I think Mbeumo is pretty much around the corner from being close to fitness. So does Mopai definitely play and start both? I'm not fully sure, because Mbeumo may be someone who comes in. Yeah, he returns, but he barely gets bonus. He's not got on 3 bonus all season actually, which is a shame. I think the highest he's got is 2 from 1 return. Yeah, I don't think he's double digits all season either. So yeah, he's not going to be hauling. But to be honest, there's always a sort of freak hero in a double game week, and you know, Mopai could be the one that gets 12 plus over 2 games. I could see it happening. But yeah, anyway, he's not on the top 10 for any metrics apart from big chances created, which he's first, which is joint with 5 others for big chances created. So yeah, 6.2 expected points for double game at 25, which is 27th of all players. So pretty low down the pecking order. But if you're really looking for someone as a differential, I mean,
could be
sure.
He's the same price as Adebayo and Morris, so he's in that ballpark. But I think the thing he's obviously got going against him is he doesn't have that second double game week. But they do play in 25 and 26 and 29, don't they, Brentford? So I suppose he has got that going for him.
Yes, they do play 26, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure they play 29. He's definitely he's one of the few teams. So I suppose he's got that going for him. So yeah, okay.
Fixtures though are pretty bad. So obviously they got Liverpool and Man City in the double, then they got West Ham away, Chelsea at home, Arsenal away, and then Burnley away. So yeah, over the next 5 at least, they're really quite bad. So the only other player I think I would possibly look at, like you could possibly look at someone like Pinnock and me and stuff like that, but you're not expecting clean sheets this week. You're hoping for a Pinnock goal or a me goal, and that's pretty unlikely, I would say. But yeah, Flecken, 4.5 million, 2.9% owned. After Tony, he is the Brentford's second highest predicted scorer of the week, on 6.8, so only just above Mopai. But yeah, that's quite low down too. But he got 10 points versus City 2 weeks ago, 12 saves in that game, 2 bonus. He got a 7 versus Wolves last week. So some pretty good returns in the last 2, but good form. However, no clean sheets since game week 10 before Wolves last week. But I would expect he's going to get a ton of saves from Liverpool and City, from Darwin's terrible shots. So yeah,
he could be the hero.
There is points to be made from Plecken this week, I would say. Yeah, he does play 26 as well, but obviously said the fixtures are pretty bad. But yeah, if you've got him, I wouldn't be bringing him in. But if you have him from game week 1 or whatever, like I did, I obviously don't have him anymore. But he's not a bad shout to just play this week and get tons of saves.
Yeah, I mean the fact that
that's basically it.
Yeah, I think the fact that he got those saves against City makes you think he could do something similar. Again, I feel like I've not even thought to consider Flecken, to be honest. I feel like goalkeepers have had such like low upside for me this season. I just don't care about that slot. Same with defenders as well.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. Dubravka at home to Bournemouth, I'm not expecting much there this week, that's for sure. But
it's
probably not wise to be making goalkeeper transfers here.
No. All right. Well, should we have to preview our teams? Have you activated the chip yet on Haaland? Have you made it go?
No, I have not yet.
Given it a glow up? No, you
I
haven't.
will though.
All right. So we're looking here at your team. So from what you've told me then, Palmer out is a maybe, or it might be Nakamba to Barkley and play instead of Palmer.
Yeah, I think I might have enough in the bank to do Nakamba to Jota.
Oh, okay.
Wait, I got 7.7. How much is Jota? He must be above that, right? No, Jota's 8.3.
Oh,
okay,
right,
so it would have to be Palmer out if I was going to do it. Yeah, it's tough. I'd quite happily get rid of Gusto for a defender, but the defender upside for this week is pretty poor.
And who would you bench? I think they've all got good. They've all got like.
Well, I would maybe bench Palmer at that point.
See,
I guess.
Defender. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, or I would bench like maybe even Porro. But just playing Palmer against City, I don't think is the worst thing in the world. But he is the obvious one for me to move out if I was going to. Watkins to Tony is possible. Is a possibility.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting shout.
But I kind of like Watkins fixtures. Fulham away, Nottingham Forest at home, Luton away the next 3. You can't really go wrong with that. Playing 26 in a good fixture of 26. So I think Watkins probably does stay for me.
Well, you could get Tony in for Watkins, and then next week get rid of Darwin for Watkins.
That's losing a bit of value.
Yeah.
He's 8.7 million.
About value now.
Yeah, my selling value is 8.6 and he's only 8.7, so I'd only lose 0.1. Yeah, that's not a bad shout. But I do feel Fulham away.
I know, it's a good fixture, isn't it?
It's a scary thing to be selling him for. But Tony against... yeah, I could see Tony blanking at both games too. But at the same time, I feel like he probably could do something too. So, yeah, interesting.
It's that double game week lure, isn't it?
It is.
I think
it makes people go crazy.
Yeah, I think don't get too hung up on. Well, maybe obviously everyone's different, but don't get too hung up on the like the prices. Like, you're probably going to end up playing a wild card soon, I'm guessing, and then you can like restructure all the team anyway, like within the next 5 or 6 game weeks.
I think because I'm not doing a free hit in 26, I probably need to move out Gusto.
Yeah,
so a couple of the Chelsea would probably be useful to get rid of, and Taylor being fit would be really good as well.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so. Probably Palmer to Jota makes more sense. Gusto to someone, maybe, and then possibly bench Porro, and then Gusto would be Bradley. I guess that might be the player. Just because there's no other obviously good double game makers, and I've already got Doughty.
Yeah, true. You could get. Yeah, no, I don't know who else to suggest at that point. I really fancy a Brentford defender. No. Yeah, difficult. All right, but you're definitely captaining Haaland.
Yeah, the triple captain will be on Haaland, yes.
So decisions to be made still. And then, okay, also the final curveball then is if Klopp says Salah's going to be involved, like in the first game, are you ripping up the team at all to try and get him in, or are you just going to sort of suck it up and see what happens?
The only way to get him would be selling De Bruyne. And that's just not... There's no point for that. So, and yeah, I don't expect him to be fully up to speed straight away. So I'm just rolling the dice that he doesn't do much.
No, I think that's fair. All right, let's switch over and just talk about what my team before we wrap up. So similar to you, I haven't activated the triple captain chip yet, but that will get brought on. It's a bit of a shame really because I've got Gordon at home against Bournemouth, who I think are running up like out of steam a little bit, and I kind of feel like he's so good at home. I want to play him this week.
Play him over Palmer, no?
Well, yeah. So at the moment, my thought is that I'm going to swap Palmer for KDB and swap Watkins for Darwin.
Okay.
So then next week, well, I don't want to go to next week too much, but I can get to 11 with just 1 -4, and then still this game week I'll have 3 City, 2 Liverpool. And another game.
Is this 2 free transfers?
2 free transfers this week, yeah. So Gusto would stay another game week, but then he'd probably go out next week. But it would just mean I have I don't know who I'd bench in for Gordon really. Richarlison's probably better than him. Saka's definitely better than him. And then
is Richarlison better than Gordon this week? I don't know.
Not home to Wolves, maybe.
Yeah, but home to Bournemouth.
I know. I think that's a tricky one, but no. At the moment, I think I'm going to play Richarlison just because he's done well for me recently. and I think Spurs probably better than. Oh, I don't know. That's definitely a tricky one. But
yes.
No, I feel at the start of the week I was like, "There's no way I'm getting rid of Watkins," and now the closer we get, I just think that why not just gamble on Darwin? Because at the next week, it's only an effective. I know that classic, but it's only an effective -2 to sell Darwin to get Watkins because he's not playing.
Yeah.
So it doesn't seem as bad, and obviously I'm going to have Watkins back for that 26. So
yeah, for you bought Watkins again quite a bit later, I think. So you probably don't have much value at all, if any.
I thought I checked it yesterday, and he was a sell of 8.4.
Okay.
Yeah, he is a sell of 8.4, so I'm going to lose 0.3, but it looks like Watkins might drop again this week. So
I don't know how I swear I had him for longer than you did, but okay,
I think you
whatever.
sold him again for Darwin for like a week or two or something.
Yeah, maybe.
But anyway, so
yeah, no, I think I did actually. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and then I bought him back
again.
Yeah.
So yeah, there we go. So yeah, I think I'm going to go full double game week by getting Darwin and KDB, Saka and Richarlison, and just have Gordon first bench just in case. Really.
Yeah, everyone's teams are going to be really similar, aren't they?
They are. Yeah. Well, it's difficult not to back those two when they're in a double game week.
Yeah, I think the differentials are going to be possibly City defense and then Tony. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting.
And Doughty. All right.
I think it's pronounced like that.
Doughty. Right. We had a few questions in the chat about people.
I doubty my points for this week.
Oh, I think everyone's going to move the same as well because I think lots of people are going to have Haaland triple captains. I think like gains this week are going to be small anyway, even though the chip's being activated.
Yeah, that would be important. No, well, I mean, there are loads of people that are like above us in the sort of rankings have probably spaffed their triple captain chip already.
I hope so. Well, the fact that Jota and Darwin are less than 20% owned and Alvarez is less than 30% owned, I feel they're still somewhat of differential, but I don't know what their effective ownership is or anything like that. So
I would be disappointed if I don't get to 100 at least this week. At least.
I think we're about 24 points off it. So we'll see.
No, I mean just
100-point score.
Week. Like,
right, got you. Yeah.
It's got to be the triple digit club.
Yeah, it has to, doesn't it? Really? No, it has to. Cool. All right. Well, should we rip it up there?
Yep, like your moves. Yeah.
Super.
Good one.
Good. We're going full force. Right. We'll wrap it up there, and we'll be on the eve of the double game week game next Wednesday. I think it's City at play on the Wednesday. No, it's Liverpool that play on the Wednesday, so we'll have our triple captain scores in by then. Lovely jubbly. All right.
Good stuff.
Very good. Thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll be back next week. Have a good week. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Thanks.